It's Monday, May 1st, 4 p.m. We'd like to welcome everybody to the Ottawa City Commission study. We'll start with public comments. Do we have any?
We have one registered for the 901 East Cherry.
Okay, I'll wait till then. You can come up and speak if you'd like. The first one is item one is a proclamation recognizing May 11th through the 17th, 2023 as Police Week. Minister, did you have a chance to read that over? You okay with moving that on to Wednesday's agenda? Okay. We'll do that. All right, items for presentation and discussion. The first one is that continued discussion of a request for a rezone of the property at 901 South Cherry from an R1, an HO-O district to R3. Jenna, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. The presentation. I'm gonna keep it a little bit shorter this time. We did cover quite a bit last week, but if you have any questions about anything, I definitely have the information. So, thank you.
There we go.
This is a rezone from R1 housing opportunity overlay district, living to residential to R3 identity residential at 901 South Cherry. Applicant Raymond Love is here with us today. He intends to rezone this and use it for student housing, development for student housing. Housing is the intention. Student housing is not a permitted use within R1, which is why he wants to rezone it. This is the location of the corner of 9th and Cherry, 2 blocks east of Ottawa University, which makes an ideal location for this project. This is the housing, the zoning district. So it's a mix of low density residential, medium density, and manufactured homes. And also the public, which is where Ottawa University is. And it is in a flood, part of it is still in the floodplain. It was worked on several years ago to elevate it, this portion of it out of the floodplain, but there is still a portion of it that is there. This area does tend to flood. So we did review 13 factors with the planning commission extensively. And our findings were, these are the 4 main ones. So the zoning is necessary because of the changing needs and conditions in the city. And there's a need for in the city for student housing and housing in general. Providing housing for students in the city would free up existing housing opportunities for the public. After reviewing these factors, planning commission concluded that R2 instead of R3 would be more appropriate for this area. R3 would be, I think, the general what's going on there. R2 does permit student housing as a conditional use. So Mr. Love would need to come in with plans and discuss with us. So going forward, we'd be able to see those plans and discuss it and have more collaboration with what's going on with that property instead of just rezoning it to R3, and there would be less opportunity for conversation. And it is the public's benefit to have some sort of development happen on this piece of property. It has been rezoned and there have been several plans. Juniper something was one of the plans that never went through. So this has been looked at and has sat vacant for a very long time. With it no longer being in the floodplain and is developable, that we have somebody here with a plan that has, we do have a need for housing in this area and in the city in general. This would be really to the public's benefit, and also having a development there could alleviate some of the flooding and other issues that are in the neighborhood with the planning process and going through the development process. We need to do stormwater study and traffic studies, which would address some of the public concerns that we heard during the public hearing on the 12th. And finally, it does meet the comprehensive goals to develop, maybe correctly, support development of affordable and appropriate housing for all segments of the community, promoting housing quality and diversity. And also, this was a need that came up during the study, the student housing study that was done a couple of years ago. The public concerns that we had were about traffic, both human and vehicular. There was concerns about the wear and tear on the streets, some traffic issues they have around that area. And none of the complaints were directly about the zoning, but more of what the future development might do and bring to the neighborhood. So in other words, the increased flooding in the areas, there were a lot of concerns about the imperviousness of causing more flooding and stormwater runoff. And again, with the stormwater study, there's a great potential to alleviate some of that. And they're getting concerned about it not being consistent with what's already there, that having apartment buildings or denser development is not consistent with what's going on there. Although what it is zoned for now allows for greater density than what than just regular R1 because of the housing overlay. And then there's the vehicular traffic, so we covered those. But
On that.
sure.
Well, possible, but then so we would require some kind of, like a detention pond of some kind, is that part of the process of the study done?
It could be.
It could
It could be, it's since it's next to the floodplain, it doesn't necessarily require that they put in a detention pond. But with the stormwater study, they would look at all those factors and try to find a way to not impact the neighborhood in a negative way. And so after all of our research and findings, the recommendation from the planning commission and staff is that we rezone it to R2 instead of R3 and retain the housing opportunity overlay district. Just in case he's unable to develop it as he is intending, this would allow for other development to happen and provide a little bit more housing than what it would currently.
So the R2 will still allow the applicant to do everything they want to do, even though it's not an R3.
Correct, he just has to do a conditional use permit. Instead of it just being R3 and then if it doesn't work and it gets sold, and we have this R3.
Once you say that, last week.
Was there any voiced opposition by the applicant regarding the part 2 versus the other?
There's
We did have discussions about that, and he was, as long as we can go through the conditional use permit with that. We just had a discussion after we already sent to planning commission, so.
And then about the human traffic, I drove by there and I didn't see a sidewalk on which side of 9th Street. It's not really convenient for people to cross the street twice to get to the campus. So I don't know, sidewalks would be needed, I would think, on 9th Street on the south side and maybe the north side on 10th Street to get access to the university. Is that something we can require in this conditional use, or is that something totally separate and dealt with City Hall?
It could be part of the plan, it could be one of the conditions. That's the nice thing about a conditional use permit, is that you do get to put conditions. So it would be something we could work out. And perhaps it's something that we can be, I'm not sure how all that would come together, but yes.
Right now, I think the applicant is putting sidewalks on Cherry Street, I guess, is that right? That's part of it too. Yes.
And he doesn't have a plan just yet, so the development will come.
There would be all the necessary walkways from that property to get them to the sidewalks or to Ottawa University that we rate to control.
There would be definite neighborhood improvements. So
I appreciate the fact that you brought up the density that is currently in place. Any idea what the density of the manufactured home park district is versus the R1 or the R2? I was just thinking in comparison, how do they look? Because at least visually on the map, it appears as though
they are there. And The neighborhood is very consistent regardless of what the zoning is. It is low density, even though some of it is R2. There aren't any duplexes that are actually there aren't multifamily units that are in the R2. But there are apartment buildings that are also in R2. Fairly far away, that have a lot of space. There is precedent for this in the city.
Commission, they're opinion on this, they're voted, they had to vote and push it onto us.
Yes, they did. They approved it. There was no objection. They were much more comfortable with the R2 zoning than the R3.
Anything additional there, Jen?
Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, any questions for Jen? Do any questions for the applicant?
Okay, I guess I would like to talk about the sidewalks a little bit, how that would be worked out, maybe some way, so we have some money in our city budget to handle part of that. Off-site sidewalk construction, I have no idea what kind of cost we'd be looking at, I know if the sidewalks are over the willow tree not now. But I think it wouldn't be something be important that we should address because we were getting, how many students we're talking about, we talked about 50 or 60 here, do we know, or?
How many units?
No more than 30 per building.
There will be some. Concern that everything. Already we talked about high school students walking on 11th Street, the main high school, and I know we got to talk about sidewalk on 11th Street sometime too. I'm concerned about people walking in the street. And so if they're walking single file, I know, but they walk free abreast, and I know that they walk drive around sometimes. But it's still the same, I think, the importance of the sidewalk. So I would like to see some kind of either a combined effort on the offsite sidewalks in the city and private money as well. A good way to work that out.
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore, I appreciate you bringing that up because that's what I wrote down too, was sidewalks, because the folks that I have talked to, that's their concern is that you know, where these college kids gonna walk. We don't want them in the street, and quite frankly, the folks that live around there either, we don't want them in the street, so. I think, just, it's no different than the project up by Price Chopper, where we talked to them about the turn lane, you know, putting some of that bill, I think, that maybe we can certainly have that discussion when that time comes to have some sidewalks added in for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. That was something I kind of had for later, obviously after the rezone on whether to get conditional use. And I'm one that I believe it wouldn't be the responsibility of any developer to do off-site sidewalks. You know, I believe as a city, it's our responsibility to provide those safe ways for pedestrians, students, whoever they are, to walk. So I like your idea. Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore, you know, if we need to work with you and find some type of maybe partnership, kind of offset those costs, I think that would be great. For the benefit of students as well as all the residents in that area.
And, Mike's working on a plan so we can highlight both sidewalk enhancements around visiting school routes as well as the university going forward.
Mister, did you have any questions for the applicant? Sorry. Okay, subject to the above restrictions, persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items on the agenda may do so. The agenda item is called persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items not on the agenda and that are under the jurisdiction of the city commission may do so at that time when called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court or others outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Any presentation is for informational purposes only. The governing body will take comments under advisement. Easy, you want to call it up? Please state your name and address for the record.
Adri Altic, 716 East Snap.
Thank you.
I've got some scattered thoughts. I
You
feel
can say
like,
it if you'd like.
we're talking about two different things. So your housing study, yes, we need more rentals and more housing. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a dorm or a residence hall in the middle of a neighborhood. And my frustration is, this is Ottawa University's job to house their students. And I talked to Mr. Amel and I talked to Jeff Brewer at COPO, and he said that Dr.
Ready?
Yes, no,
That's the one you said?
yes, no, it starts with an N. Anyway, has been on COFO several times and mentioned that they were in the works of building a residence hall. They just haven't gotten around to it yet. That's their job. And Mike, I appreciate your response. And the one thing I have to say is, I can't imagine that their enrollment is gonna decrease much, because they have people at the hotel, people at the nursing home, people all over town, that they need a place for them to stay, and it's their responsibility to do it, not the cities. I have no problem with the housing being put in there and it being developed. I mean, we've known all along that that's gonna happen. But I just don't think the residence hall or a dorm or an apartment complex, whatever we wanna call it, is appropriate on that land. So that is my frustration and my concern. And, the other thing, number 11, in your staff finding, it talked about how an overgrown state has a history of becoming littered or used as a dump site. That's not the case in that area, just so you know. It's always been, I mean, yeah, it's overgrown, but the guy mows it every so often. But, there's wildlife and stuff there, so it's not been a dump site. It's not been a place where of crime or anything else. So, but, I just think, I don't have any problem with it being developed. I don't think anybody in the neighborhood has a problem with it being developed. Although the people across the street want the wildlife to stay, but they, you can't buy a house in town and expect it to look like the country. But, I just don't think the residence hall is appropriate in our neighborhood there. So that's my frustration and my concern.
Thank you.
Question for the applicant. Now, will this be strictly for OU students, or could someone, a non-OU student live in this?
They could, first option will be for the university to fulfill it.
Okay.
Then after that, if they do not have the residency to fill it, then it could be opened up to non-residents.
Yeah, I know, I mentioned it to my small speaker about the OU students, and then I remember there was a time we were down to about 400 students, I believe, and I hope that never happens again. I don't know why that was, and I'm just concerned going forward that with the cost of college education and other trade schools expanding their enrollment, already the number of potential students that are competing for it is very challenging. I hope they stay at 900, go to 1200. I hope they continue to grow. And I'm thinking long term here, the building will be here for hopefully 50 years. And what will it be like, you know, in 10, 15, 20 years from now? I just don't know their enrollment. Same, the cost of education and the number of competing students and the number of universities that compete for those students. It's a challenge, no doubt about it. They're doing a great job now. I hope they continue like this. I think that there could be a time.
Similarly, I could see that being their concern. You know, with a, public or private school, private business kind of partnership. It opens the door to, if they can't fill it, it could be something else. So, yeah, great.
Any other discussion?
Just to clarify, I know we did this last week as well, but this is just the rezone, so nothing to do with anything being built today,
Correct.
just the.
Just to rezone it to the R2. Okay, are we okay with moving this on to Wednesday's agenda? Okay, that's what we'll do then. Thank you. All right, item 2, continued discussion of an application for a minor plat to combine lots 10 and 3 in the 4th edition of the Northeast Industrial Park.
So this is the thing that as last time, where it's a pretty simple, just redrawing the lines of the Hasty Awards has a building on one lot, they bought the lot north of that. They'd like to build another building or extend, and they don't want to build across the 2 property lines, and so that requires a minor replat. And that is essentially it. There's no public improvement
Yeah, he's on there.
associated with it. In the board. And I believe we have, it's possible we have David here online with us, the developer. The engineer, thank you. So this is the file, located here. It's pretty straightforward.
Commissioners, any questions for either Jenna or David? Are we okay with moving this on to Wednesday's agenda? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
All right, item 3 is the street rehabilitation program for 2023. It's Director Hagley.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. What you have before you is our plan for street rehabilitation this year. First thing I want to point out is in my memo, I had a momentary fit of dyslexia. And the amount in the recommendation line is incorrect. That is actually the engineer's estimate. The correct amount for this bill was $148,000 or $148,450. So I apologize for that. So with that, I'll just address the and the bid price. We did only get one bid for this project this year. This project is from basically 23rd Street north to roughly McDonald's. It's the concrete portion of South Princeton there in that area. To repair the joints and the cracking and installing it out there. Only having one bid, that is kind of odd for us to only receive one bid for a project like this, but given the time of the year that we're in, I'm happy that we got one. I've talked to David Hamby, our city engineer. Him and I both believe that the contract is done at $148,450 is not that far out of line from what his estimate was. We both still believe that's the viable bid. David called some references on the contractor since we've never worked with a contractor, and I've never heard of the company, but we did have some positive responses out of their work, so we both feel comfortable that they're a good contractor and can do a good job for us. This is a little bit different than what we've done over the last 8 years since I've been here. We've primarily focused on chip sealing and milling overlays. But we're to the point where if we don't do something with South Princeton and the amount of traffic we have on there, we're gonna lose all the concrete there. So we really have to put some effort there. You'll also notice that on the map that I gave you, I highlighted in red an area on South Maple. That is the area that our city crews are gonna work on. I talked to Justin McCurdy, our street superintendent, confident that his guys can get in there and do some pretty extensive repair to that stretch of concrete, and we'll be able to save that. But it does require some extensive repair that we can go in and cut pieces of it, patch it back, something comes up, we can walk away from it. If we were to hire a contractor to come in and do that, they probably want to shut the entire street down and try to get in there and do a whole bunch of repairs all at once. And that would put a lot of people out of using their driveways. And I think that the way that we're planning on doing it, we can make our dollars go further. So. That I will.
Do you have a timeline on these projects?
The Maple Street is gonna start as soon as we're out of the rainy season, which hasn't hit yet, so. I would like to kind of make sure that we're into June before I send my guys over there. As far as the contractor piece of it on South Princeton, we'll have to schedule pre-construction meeting and get an idea from them. And I'll be honest with you, I cannot remember if we put in the contract that the project had to be finished by a certain time. With that question, typically when we do our asphalt work, we try to have all the chip sealing done prior to the end of August and mill and overlay done prior to the end of September. But I do not remember if we put anything in the mid specs for this. If we put a timeline.
At the same time, how we coming on 68?
68 is mostly complete, all the concrete work's done. They're waiting on cure time, and I believe the stripers are supposed to be coming in pretty soon. And then hopefully this week, so that they'll come in and strike, take all their cones down, and open that back. Yeah. Yes.
So much to do that.
I need opinion on, since we only received one bid, maybe not accepting it and putting it back out.
We could, but if we want to get anything done this year, you're in construction. Most of the contractors already have their ear time out. And I'm pretty sure that's why we only got one. So I'm afraid if we reject it,
Might get
figure
zero.
it like that, we may not get it.
And on this, go ahead. You said 23rd McDonald's, so is it just where it's 4 lanes combined before it gets to kind of where it starts splitting?
Yeah, the asphalt in south of between McDonald's and there. So McDonald's is kind of a good rough
Rough
of
idea.
the area.
Okay, I didn't know if it was based on like, say, 360 square yards. I didn't know if it was based on the amount of concrete that they're gonna use, or if it's just the full scope for the entire project.
No, because actually we're hoping next year we could go from 23rd Street south to the on-ramp and exit ramp and do some more extensive work down there. And one of the ideas that we're kicking around, Dennis and I both really like the idea, so does Justin, about getting rid of that median. So, which is one of the reasons why we stopped where we did, so that if we were to do the whole thing this year, I think we've done it the possibly $300,000 to maybe even $400,000 range. So we broke the project up, come in 2 phases, do the cheaper one first and then buy it out for next.
You know, we discussed, Mike and I, about accelerating, moving up the bid dates for street projects if they occur in January, February. So
Yeah, typically they come to you in January and try to get bid out February, then I believe with my anticipated return, they're going to want to go a lot tighter.
We're glad you're back.
And then I didn't get back to survey what I thought.
We're glad you're back.
Thank
Thank you for your service. In your memo, it indicates that, the budget that we had allocated was $250,000, and I just, for the public, so if you're looking at the bid, it's $150,000, so you're anticipating it's gonna be about $100,000 to rehab Maple.
Anticipated, yes.
And I know in the past,
And,
we've had any extras,
That also gives us money for pothole repairs and other things.
With the being shared between contract work and work we can perform in-house, do we do any concrete roadways with our crews? Or is it the depth needing that 11 inches deep?
Yeah, so the South Maple, where we're doing north, that's concrete. As well, as what South Princeton is, but South Princeton, due to the amount of traffic and sheer volume of traffic, that's really and the type of repairs that are gonna be done out there, that's really kind of more of a specialty.
Yeah, outside of scope.
Commissioners, any other questions for Director Hagley? They have requested that we move this on to Wednesday's agenda. Are we okay with that? Okay, so that's what we'll do. Thank you, Director Haveman. All right, that moves us on to comments by our city manager.
Just a quick review for the upcoming meeting on Wednesday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. We'll have an agenda of the proclamation recognizing May 2023 as Community Action Month, the proclamation for recognizing May 11th through the 17th as Police Week. And then, of course, the items that were addressed at today's agenda item. The rezoning for 901 South Cherry, the minor dedication of easements, right of ways, and replat for Northeast Industrial Park 4th Edition and the 2023 Street Rehabilitation Program. So we'll have that, and then we'll have a fairly extensive study session on May 8th. Get into budget also at that time, we'll have an executive session for matters related to physical security. Sites.
Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Reports by city commissioners, Commissioner Gray,
No comment,
Commissioner Taylor,
not at this time.
Commissioner Clayton,
The time,
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore.
like the last study session, we didn't go over the monthly report, so I'm a little excited about the financial side. I don't think you're screaming for Oregon.
I knew you were with us.
I'm speaking for you. Well, I saw that. You appreciate that. You let it know. I'm really excited about that. It huge plus for it. So thanks for all the work you did. That's great. And the fact that she did. Rebecca, I too. There you go. Good job on that. That's all I have.
Great. I have no comments either. I have a few announcements. Regular meeting this Wednesday at 7 p.m. here at City Hall. Then we have a study session May 8th at 4 p.m. A study session May 15th at 4 p.m. And then May 17th, we have our commission retreat with John Devine and a leadership firm at 1:30 here at City Hall. Is there anything else to come before the commission this afternoon? All adjourned.